One of the things I love to find are old, fascinating books. So around the corner from me there's one of Newcastle's only second-hand bookshops. And in this I've found just really odd books you wouldn't normally find in your local Waterstones or just generally online. You probably wouldn't stumble across these. So for example, there's this old historic book on the history of Gateshead. They seem to have a local history section, there's a lot of good stuff there. Or this architectural book about the bridgescape of Newcastle and Gateshead. But one of the first books I ever actually bought from here was this book called Old European Cities. And within this, it was a number of reproductions of these colour plates of historical cities. And one of my favourite illustrations in this book is the one of Amsterdam. I saw this illustration before I'd ever actually visited the city for the first time, and it's really encapsulated the view in my head of this being a city really deeply connected to the water and also having a real historic environment around it. If you compare this to a modern map of Amsterdam, you can see within the central canal district very little has actually changed between this colour plate and a modern satellite image. And this is in contrary to many other cities, Newcastle itself included, which parts of its central historical area were lost or destroyed. And many times this is always in the favour of the motor car or improving the car's access to the city as a way to renew it. The American urban historian Lewis Mumford once said, "The main issue is that the right to have access to every building in the city by private motor car, in an age when everyone possesses such a vehicle, is actually the right to destroy the city." This was written in 1963, which the period when a lot of this destruction was taking place, but still more buildings and more parts of cities would be destroyed for these motorway projects throughout the city. Back to Amsterdam. Amsterdam is one of the cities that has had a battle to keep motor cars out of the city centre. And this isn't a place where they don't exist. They do exist in the city centre and there is car traffic. However, this is vastly different to any English city, where other cities reshape the city centre around the motor car. Motor cars in Amsterdam are almost like guests, with a focus on public transport and cycling, so what traffic there is split between more modes rather than just cars. Therefore, rather than streets being dominated by multi-lane highways, they're a mix of cycle lanes, car lanes and canals. Centres led to the destruction of historic buildings and historic street patterns in order to facilitate this greater traffic movement. Amsterdam has retained and restored many of its iconic canal-side houses, which, if this urban renewal which was seen elsewhere was brought across, will more than likely be lost. However, Amsterdam at one point did actually follow the ideas or the popular idea at the time, which was having these motorways through the city centre. Two notable city plans aimed at bringing motor cars into the city centre in a more dominant way. The first of this was in 1950. This would have seen some canals infilled to create new dual carriageways. This is all to facilitate the greater movement of traffic and goods throughout the city. The latter plan in 1967 aimed at reviving Amsterdam through the use of the motor car. This would have created a central business district similar to La Défense in Paris, with high-rise office towers within the city. This was named the Jonkin Plan after the American traffic expert David Jonkin. However, public protests put a stop to both of these plans, and from that the Amsterdam, which includes cycling, walking and obviously public transport alongside obviously the motor car, was born. And this allowed for Amsterdam's recovery and regeneration of this without the need for these urban highways. Now Amsterdam stands as an example of historic preservation and cycle-friendly design. However, this was all nearly lost in favour of the motor car. I think the moral of the story here is that too often we see future technology as the solution to many urban problems. This can be seen today with things such as the smart city movement, or people like Elon Musk's boring company creating underground tunnels for cars. And I think too often we get drawn down this route that technology will save everything. And a lot of the time, we actually have the ideas and solutions in front of us already, historically. And if we don't implement them, what is the good of a new technology saviour to us?